Hey there guys, Matt Guzman here, back with another video, and today is going to be about how to get the fingerprinting merit badge. So this one is the simplest, the quickest, and easiest merit badge I've ever taken. I got it done within an hour and a half, and there's literally only 5 requirements. And even the ones I have, like ABC, they're extremely simple, they're not even that long. But if you can get this merit badge, like, counseled for, then you can get it done within like an hour or like 2 hours. It's really simple and it's not boring either. It's pretty fun because it's fingerprinting. But the first requirement for fingerprinting says to give a short history about fingerprinting. So my counselor was just talking about like the old days and how fingerprinting just happened to come during police investigations, but that's not actually what happened. So I was doing some research, and there was a certain event in 1903 when a man called Will West was sentenced to the U.S. penitentiary at Leavenworth, Kansas. And actually, there was already a prisoner at that same penitentiary who had the same height and other measurements too, and his name was William West. So we had the Will West that they originally sent in, but there was actually a person already there called William West. And as the paragraph says here, upon the investigation, the men did look very similar face on, so it's easy to think how one man could look like the other, and they actually had different biometrics, as in the fingerprints and the face, which were in fact proving that they were two different people. In actuality, they were identical twin brothers, so that's why they had the same looks and everything. So yeah, with the history of fingerprinting, you need to tell the difference between civil and criminal identification as well. And this is actually really quick to explain, so I might as well. Civil is like applying for jobs, or you're getting your fingerprints or your fingerprint record taken in like a civilized area. Criminal identification is self-explanatory. You're being taken in, and they need to take your fingerprints for future reference. So, moving on to number 2. It says to explain the difference between the Automated Fingerprint Identification System, or AFIS, now used by some law enforcement agencies, and the biometric systems used to control access to places like buildings, passcodes, stuff like that. So with the AFIS, as I mentioned before, stands for Automated Fingerprint Identification System, and it's a method of a biometric identification that uses digital images to obtain, store, and analyze fingerprint data. It was originally used by the FBI in criminal cases, and it's still used by law enforcement to keep records of the criminals that they take in. And basically, it's to keep a record of that person's identification, and it's usually unwillingly, like if they're being taken in as a criminal. So as I said before, biometric is more like passcodes and stuff. So like your phone, if you have your thumbprint for your phone, or let's say you're signing in. I know when I'm at my orthodontics, they have a sign in with your index finger to let them know you're there for the appointment. So the stuff here, it says facial recognition, fingerprints, finger geometry, irises, retina scanning, voice recognition, DNA matching, all that stuff. That's like, it's programmed scanning it to make sure it's correct to have it unlock something or access something. Moving on to number 3, do the following. So this is the one where it has multiple, but they're really simple. Name the surfaces of the body where friction or papillary ridges are found. Now, if you don't know what papillary ridges are, then obviously you need to do some like searching up and stuff. But once you do, it's very simple. 3B, name 2 basic principles supporting the science of fingerprints. One of them is no 2 fingerprints of the same finger are the same for anyone. So it might be the same for like someone's index finger is the same fingerprint as someone's pinky, but no 2 index fingers in the world are ever going to be the same. And the second basic principle is that fingerprints never change. Now, there is a way to get rid of your fingerprint, but it is very painful, and you need to get rid of the skin on your fingers. But fingerprints never change, and no 2 fingerprints are alike from the same finger. And you need to give a brief explanation of each principle, which I just did. So, and then the last one, 3C, explain what it takes to positively identify a person using fingerprints. Once you got that, moving on to number 4, take a clear set of prints using one of the following methods. The first method is to make both rolled and plain impressions, and make these on an 8x8 inch fingerprint identification card available from your local police department or your counselor. Or, if you don't want to do that one, B says to use clear adhesive tape, pencil and some paper and record your own fingerprints or those of another person. So I use the pencil and the tape version, and I first actually started to try to do a padding, but we didn't have a pad and it just looked weird. So what we did is we used our rest of the fingerprints using pencil and tape. So we grabbed our number 2 pencil. A normal one like that usually works when you rub it against the paper and you try to get it all graphite-y, and then you set your index finger into it, and once you have that, you can take the tape and put your index finger onto the tape and put the tape onto the paper. And when you do them all four at the same time, you get something that looks like this with the strips of the tape. Just by using that pencil, you can get all your prints done. If you don't want to do that method, you can use this method, which is using an actual ink pad. So you slightly press your fingers onto it and you roll it over from right to left or left to right, doesn't matter as long as it's a roll. And you can do that for all your fingers. Like me here, I started with my index to see how it would work, and then eventually went on down to my thumb and completed the 5 set. And once you have them all, they should look something like this. And that's how you take your fingerprints. Now, believe it or not, you are literally almost done with the merit badge. You need one more requirement. There are only 5 requirements in this merit badge. The last one is very simple. Show your merit badge counselor you can identify 3 basic types of fingerprint patterns and their subcategories. And then once you're done with that, using your own hand, identify the types of patterns you see. Now, if you don't know what the types of patterns are, this is what the different type of fingerprint patterns look like. You have the plain arch, tinted arch, ulnar loop, radial loop, double loop whorl, plain whorl, central pocket loop whorl, and accidental whorl. I don't know how the names actually came to use, but here's what they look like, and you can look at your own fingers and determine which kinds of classifications for the patterns you have. Now, the subcategories are like into a little more detail. You don't have to go in like too much detail, just kind of go like, oh, I have an arch. What kind of arch? A tinted arch or a plain arch. Like for me, I have a tinted arch on my middle finger, and I have almost a double loop whorl on one of my thumbs, but they usually look like the ulnar loop. So you just classify your fingers like that using those fingerprint patterns. And then there you have the merit badge. Very simple, very fast, and very fun to do. So thank you for watching my video on how to get the fingerprinting merit badge. This is very simple. I'd recommend it if you're just starting out in merit badges and you're like new to all this merit badge stuff. You can like start on the very simple ones like this that take literally an hour to do. Make sure to like the video, turn on notifications on my channel, and be on the lookout for any other merit badge videos I have in the future or videos in general. And I'll see you next time.